Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a very sunny Coombe. It's a beautiful day. The season's under full swing, and we're faced with very different conditions now at this time of year as golf courses start to dry out and playing a lot firmer underfoot than they were just a few weeks and a few months ago. And that brings me to the point in question today. I get asked a lot of questions about short game in particular. As the ground starts to firm up and dry out and you're faced with different types of lies around the greens, just what is the right sort of way to go about the shots we're going to face. And this is going to be quite detailed, this video, and we're going to go about it in two parts. And I really want to get in some depth about this, about your wedges, how they work, the best way of applying clubs to the ball to get the best out of it. No doubt playing off hard, firm ground when you're hitting any golf shot, most especially when you're chipping and pitching, requires a very exact strike. We need to know how to use our wedges properly in order to apply the club to the ball to get the best out of it. Now, inevitably, when you're faced with certain shots around the greens, with a shot that requires a bit of height, it's very natural for so many golfers to try and manipulate the ball up into the air. In other words, to try and hoist it up to get it over that bunker, over the fringe grass, etc. And okay, if you're playing off fairly lush, soft ground and so on, plenty of grass, there's a certain element of forgiveness to a lie like that. But when we get to this time of year, you're faced with hard ground, sometimes even a fairly bare lie. You can't go for that sort of thing where it's going to be a little bit hit and miss and you try and scoop the ball up into the air. So what we're going to do, I want to explain in some detail here how your wedges actually work. And I've got some bits and pieces here to help you really get your head around how wedges work and how we actually apply the club to the ball to get the best possible strike out of it. Now, you've heard about such things like bounce angle as well as loft angle, and it's still a confusing thing for a lot of people. Now, let me just explain a little bit. I've got a couple of wedges here, and what you'll see if you have a look at the sole of that club, I've got a number on there giving the degrees of loft and a second number giving the degrees of bounce. This is my lob wedge, 60 degrees, and the second lettering there, 0.8. That's an 8-degree bounce angle. And this is a really crucial thing I've got on here. The W, I don't want you to worry too much of that, because what that indicates is the type of grind on the sole of the club, and they are infinite. Now, we don't necessarily ignore that, although the club manufacturers would not be very happy with me if I said it's not important. It is, but that's a little bit more detail. We're not going to get into that right now. The two elements that are crucial to us is the loft number of the club, in this case 60 degrees, and the bounce number, 8 degrees of bounce. What does that mean and where is it? What does it do to the golf club? The bounce angle is this angle from a vertical position, or actually the bounce angle is measured from a horizontal position, to what angle is put here on the sole of the golf club. That will vary through your wedges, and your sand iron is the club that carries the most bounce. It's there for a very, very good purpose, as in bounce is on any golf club. All your irons will have a certain amount of bounce angle. It's only ever mentioned really on your wedges, from your gap wedges through to your lob wedge through to your sand iron. You won't see bounce angle measured on your normal set of irons, but it does exist, and it's a very important design element of a golf club. Without it, the club is just going to dig into the ground like a shovel. You can't actually get through the ground at all. Now, a lot of people play these lob shots and chip shots around greens, even at this time of year, using a sand iron. Leave it in your bag. We're not going to touch the sand iron on the type of shot that we're talking about here, because although this has got single digits of bounce angle, 8 degrees, your sand iron will go to as much as 12 and 14 degrees of bounce. Now, let's just explain why that is such bad news when you're playing off hard ground. So I've got some gadgets here to help indicate exactly what we're talking about here. Here with this little tool, and I hope you can see this quite clearly, this piece of wood represents the golf club shaft itself. This is my club face with whatever degree of angle of loft, and this is my bounce angle. You can see that it's sloped backwards down to what we call the trailing edge of the golf club. Now that's very important because it helps to get the club through the sand, through the grass on normal lie conditions. That element now goes against us when we're playing off really tight ground and really hard ground, because as you try and flip the club forward, as is the number one mistake with people playing this sort of shot, that creates a position where the hands flip the club head forward, creating a forward angle of the club head ahead of the grip end of the club shaft. This is representing our golf ball. This is representing the golf club. If I have that club shaft vertical at impact, or worse still, angled away from the target in this direction, you can see where that trailing edge is. It's going to hit the ground. This is the leading edge of the golf club, and look where that is now. I'm halfway up the golf ball. That's got one result. That's that bullet missile which you've thinned across the other side into whatever sort of trouble is awaiting over there, bunkers, water, trees, etc. So that impact position of returning the club back to here, which is brought about by flipping the club forward to try and increase the elevation and the loft, is a recipe for disaster. The leading edge is going to thin into the middle of the golf ball. Now, I want that leading edge down in underneath the golf ball. So to create that position, and therefore to remove this bounce angle, I have to return back to impact with a forward shaft lean. The club shaft is now at impact leaning towards my target. Now you can see my leading edge can get in underneath the golf ball. The ball is up into the club face. That gives me the elevation. So if we really get our heads around what your wedges are like, how they're built, the bounce angle, how it works for you, and in this particular case, how it works against you if you're in the wrong position at impact, we can really start getting our heads around the technique involved in order to apply the club in the right way and successfully get the right sort of strike. So shaft angle in relation to the sole of the club is our number one factor in returning that club back into the golf ball. As soon as we get that flipping action trying to increase loft, the shaft angle is back behind the golf ball, the back edge is down on the ground, the leading edge, which is the bit that hits the golf ball, is halfway up, bang, you've thinned it across the green. In the next part of this video, we're going to get into what all that means in terms of actually applying the club head to the ball and what the technique is in order to ensure that correct impact position where we're going to get a better strike on the ball off these really testing lies. I'll see you in part 2.